Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today we're going to be reviewing the new self-titled album from Bullet for My Valentine. So we've listened to this album for an entire week, and I guess we'll pick up where we left off from last week. Do you think it's the kind of album that really grew on you? Because we were both a bit, we had issues with it sounding maybe generic, this and that. How do you feel about it now?
Well, you know what? I feel like I'm kind of in the same boat I was after my first impressions, because it does still feel very generic. It feels very safe. It feels very run-of-the-mill. I'm not that well versed in Bullet's discography, which I said that last time. I know some of their stuff, like I think Scream Aim Fire. I hope I'm saying that name right. I hope that's the correct song, but that's like basically the only song I really know of this band. I've heard other things. I've heard full albums before, but nothing really, anyways. What I'm basically trying to say is this did feel very meh. It felt very kind of just, here it is, here's our new album, it is what it is. There's nothing on here that feels experimental. There's nothing on here that feels like astounding in any way, but I could be wrong. Maybe for Bullet it is. That's why I'm making the point I made, is that I'm not that well versed with their discography, so maybe I don't know. I'm coming from kind of a place of ignorance, and I'll admit that. But to me, listening to it all week, I'm like, this just sounds like run-of-the-mill emo metalcore kind of thing.
Like you said last week, perhaps this might be an enjoyable album for fans of this band. If they like what this band has to offer, it's not like they're giving you anything overly different. Like, this is, kind of their thing,
and
right?
I still feel that way for sure. I think fans of this band will enjoy this album, and they'll definitely be able to take things away from it. So just to talk about a few things, different songs that, I maybe liked or didn't like. So let's talk about the first song, Parasite. The song doesn't kick in until about 1:40.
I hate that so much.
That is unacceptable.
You might as well have an intro track if it's going to be that long.
Make an intro track. This is to all the bands out there. Make an intro track that's separate from your first song.
If it's going to be that long.
If it's going to be that long.
20 seconds or something?
Sure.
You do that.
Sure.
That's fine.
1:40 of just noise and just muffled shit.
Just whatever.
Yeah. No, sorry. That's how you make people skip your song, okay?
And to start the album that way is not a good sign.
Yeah, so right out of the gate, sour taste. Then basically you get, basically all the songs are kind of like decent to listen to in the background, but none really, nothing goes in my playlist. But there are a few things, like the third track, My Reverie. There's this weird lead going over the top of the song. And at first I was really annoyed by it. I was like, what the hell is this? It doesn't go with the song. It sounds so out of place. It sounds really odd. But as the week went on, I started going, you know what? I kind of like this, actually. I don't know what it is about it that's kind of attracting me to it now, but I had a completely flipped opinion on it by the end of the week, which was quite odd. But that's why we listen to albums as much as we do, because you can't just listen to it once or twice and be like, oh yeah, this or that. The more chances you give something, the more your opinion can be swayed, right? So something I didn't like at the beginning turned into something I did like, which is kind of unique and cool. No Happy Ever After has a really cool drum intro. I'll give it credit for that. But the rest of the song is average. Can't Escape the Waves was my least favorite song on the album. That's the one that, I don't know, it felt really dull to me.
How do you feel about it now?
Dull. It's still my least favorite song. That's what I'm saying, right? It's my least favorite song on the album after listening to it.
I just think that's really funny because that's actually probably my favorite song in the album.
You know what? This happens to us quite often where, we have the complete opposite opinions. I'll tell you, my favorite songs, I'll say my favorite songs, Rainbow Veins was one that at the beginning I was like, this is boring. The intro reminds me of Broken Home by Papa Roach, and I could not get that out of my head. Eventually I got over it, but I really like it's got a really brooding vibe, and I like how the verses build up to the chorus, and then the riff in the chorus is one of my favorite parts on the whole album. Shatter, which is the next song after that, is probably the heaviest song on the album. It's got a really nice, heavy, bouncy riff to it. And then Death by a Thousand Cuts is the last song on the album, which was another one I thought was pretty good. I think this song has the best chorus on the album, which a lot of them kind of have what you would maybe call catchy choruses, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of the whiny, emo-y kind of vocals, and I mean, this band does that. Death by a Thousand Cuts has it, but I feel like it's a little less. It's a little pulled back a little bit, so it was more tolerable for me. So for some reason, that song stands out. Basically, the three: Rainbow Veins, Shatter, and Death by a Thousand Cuts were my highlight tracks.
Well, I also like Shatter and Death by a Thousand Cuts, but I guess I'll talk about why Can't Escape the Waves ended up being my favorite, or probably my favorite, because I don't even really know if it's my definitive favorite.
Okay.
But I really liked the riffs, and I really liked that chorus. And that song and My Reverie I both like. Like, My Reverie, Can't Escape the Waves, Shatter, and Death by a Thousand Cuts are my highlight tracks of this album. And Shatter has good riffing, same with Death by a Thousand Cuts. But the first two tracks, I like them because they're more melodic. I really did not like the harsh vocals on this album. I did not, they just sounded weird to me. And I think Parasite kind of shows you, in a sense, everything that's wrong with this album. It, you know, has something that's just uninteresting in it, which is this intro that lasts too long. The lyrics are very basic. They just not that interesting.
Yeah.
And, you know, I made a note, like, it feels like it's stuck in 2007.
Yeah.
And just the song sounds just so, like, whatever. And I found that with a good chunk of, like, the kind of harsher or harder tracks on this album, that it's just like, okay, whatever, and the harsh vocals, just, I was just not a fan of those. But, so that's what I was kind of finding. And, you know, Parasite, Knives, and Bastards are examples of that. Knives has some decent riffs in it, I guess. But, yeah, so it either felt overly generic or, like, stuck in the past. But overall, though, I was finding riffs here and there I was liking. Rainbow Veins has some good riffs in that. I could see that. It's not one of my highlight tracks, but there is some riffs here or there in that track. I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of neat. But that's really all this album had going for it for me. Is that like, oh, this riff was good. That riff was good. It's good for background music. I will agree with that.
Yeah.
Whenever it was a situation of me listening to this as background music, it was totally fine.
Yep.
But every time I tried to kind of focus on it or do a more attentive listen, I was just not as interested in it as I was when not paying attention.
Yeah, same. Anyways, guys, let's rate it. So what you said a minute ago about the album feels like it's stuck in 2007, I think I agree with that completely. And you know what, for some bands, that might be okay, that might fly. But for this album, for me, it doesn't. I'm going to give it a 5. I mean, it's not horrible, it's not bad particularly. It's just uninspiring, uneventful, but it's got some decent tracks that you can kind of groove along with. It's kind of just middle of the pack for me, really.
Yeah, I mean, I feel very much the same. It just feels kind of like a generic album. There's a few moments that are kind of neat, but there's really not much about this album that's that interesting. So it's also going to get a 5 from me, middle of the pack. Like, it's fine, I guess. If you like Bullet for My Valentine, you'll probably like this album. If you like this kind of music, it's right up your alley. But as far as, like, you know, a more larger scale of music, you know, you've kind of heard it a lot, right?
Yeah, it's been done.
Anyway, guys, so a double 5 from us, and that's all we got for you today. Remember to like this video if you like it. Comment, tell us in the comments below. Would you give this album a 5? Would you give it a 10? We'd always love to know what you guys have to say. Remember to subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I'm TV Fish.
And I'm by myself.
We'll see you guys later.